So weird and so cool and so surreal. You know, my mom get to watch her son and her grandson play in the NBA.
After months of quiet speculation, front office murmurs, and league-wide debate, the conversation has clearly evolved. It's no longer about whether something could happen. It's about whether the pieces are finally falling into place. And this story reaches far beyond basketball. It touches legacy, identity, and the idea of how a historic career might come full circle. Right now, LeBron James is entering the final stretch of his current 2-year extension with the Los Angeles Lakers. The deal carries a massive salary figure for the 2025-26 season, along with full control over his future through a no-trade clause and a player option already in motion. League insiders suggest an in-season move is unlikely, but that's not where the real focus is anyway. The real storyline centers on what comes next, free agency. Because this moment feels less like contract management and more like career positioning. The decisions ahead aren't just transactional, they're symbolic. They shape how the final chapters of an all-time career will be written, remembered, and understood. That on January 29th, 2026, the Lakers arrived in Cleveland, and the atmosphere felt unlike any ordinary regular season stop. The Cleveland Cavaliers honored the player who once defined their franchise. A tribute video played across the arena screens. The crowd rose together in a prolonged standing ovation. And in that moment, emotion took over. LeBron didn't just acknowledge the moment. He felt it. The reaction was deeply personal, almost reflective, as if the past and present briefly merged in front of thousands of witnesses. It wasn't just a welcome back. It felt like recognition of a shared history, and perhaps even a quiet hint at unfinished emotional business. Because sometimes the most meaningful turning points in sports don't arrive through headlines or transactions. They appear in moments, unexpectedly, when the weight of history suddenly becomes impossible to ignore.
Tribute in the first quarter.
Welcome back to the land. Girl, St. Vincent St. Mary High School in Akron, Ohio. Number 23, LeBron James.
Wow, you see LeBron actually tearing.
But this time, the emotion felt different, raw, unfiltered, and impossible to script. LeBron James has received tributes in Cleveland before. He's heard the cheers, seen the highlight reels, and stood in front of those memories many times. Yet this one carried a different weight. It felt slower, more reflective, almost like a moment of pause rather than celebration. After a tough loss that night, he didn't deflect or offer the usual carefully measured responses. Instead, he spoke openly about Cleveland, about legacy, and about what the future might still hold. And for the first time, the idea of playing there again didn't sound like distant speculation. It sounded real, possible, something that could genuinely happen. The atmosphere inside the arena told the story before any words were spoken. The Cleveland Cavaliers honored him once again, but this time, it felt less like a celebration of the past and more like reflection on a shared journey. The crowd stood longer. The emotion lingered deeper. It felt like everyone in the building understood the significance of the moment, even if no one said it outright. Then, just days later, the league shifted again. On February 3rd, 2026, Cleveland made a massive move, acquiring James Harden in a headline-grabbing trade from the Los Angeles Clippers. Suddenly, the roster looked completely different. And when you step back and look at the full picture, the possibilities start to feel serious. Picture the lineup. Donovan Mitchell leading the offense with explosive scoring. Harden adding elite playmaking and experience. Evan Mobley anchoring the defense with versatility and length. Jarrett Allen controlling the paint with strength and presence. Now imagine adding LeBron at 41. Not as a symbolic return, but as a high-impact veteran on a manageable contract. That's not nostalgia. That's a contender taking shape. League insiders have already indicated that Cleveland would welcome the idea of a third chapter. And when you look at the roster structure, the competitive window, and the emotional connection that still exists, the idea no longer feels theoretical.
As more and the thought creeps in my mind more at 41 years old of when the end is and where's the finish line for us to hang this thing up. So, but the drive on, how much like juice I can squeeze out of this orange, and how can I continue to, I'm at a battle with Father of Time, and I'm kind of taking it personal. So weird and so cool and so surreal, and my mom get to watch her son and her grandson play in the NBA at the same time. I actually just started to think about how insane.
If he's willing to accept less money, and at 41, market realities naturally shift, then the conversation stops being purely financial. It becomes personal, because for LeBron James, this isn't just another franchise. It's home. He was born in Akron in 1984. He became a national phenomenon at St. Vincent, St. Mary High School. In 2003, he was selected first overall by the Cleveland Cavaliers. By 2007, he had already carried them to the finals, far ahead of schedule, far beyond expectations. Then came the departure in 2010, the backlash, burned jerseys, broken trust, and years later, the return in 2016, everything came full circle. Down 3-1 against the record-setting Golden State Warriors, Cleveland did the impossible. The defining play, the chase-down block on Andre Iguodala, became one of the most iconic defensive moments in basketball history. A 52-year championship drought ended that night. But more than that, something emotional was restored. That title wasn't just a victory. It was redemption for the city, for the franchise, and for the relationship between superstar and hometown. A third chapter wouldn't be about proving anything. It wouldn't be about building something new. It wouldn't even be about carrying a team on his back. It would be about finishing the story. Cleveland wouldn't need peak athletic dominance. They wouldn't need the relentless force of earlier championship runs. What they want is leadership, experience, and the kind of basketball intelligence that only decades at the highest level can create. And imagine the narrative. Year 23, maybe year 24, one final season, one last run in the arena where it all began. Not just competition, closure. Not just basketball, storytelling. That's the real crossroads now. Does he choose comfort or control? Cleveland offers emotional completion, a ready-made contender, and a fan base that has already traveled the full emotional journey with him. But it also means stepping into a structure that isn't built entirely around his direction. In Los Angeles, everything still flows through him. The influence, the identity, the spotlight. One path offers legacy wrapped in sentiment. The other offers authority and control until the very end.
When I saw LeBron James, a brother of mine, shedding tears because he has dedicated his entire life to this game of basketball. That's all he knows. And when we talk about greatness, he is that. And so, yeah, it hit me watching it from the TV that, hey, I don't believe that this year is going to be his final year, but I do believe that next year is going to be his final year. And in my opinion, it needs to be with the Cavs. Be with the Cavs. He needs to have his farewell tour. He has earned that. The fans deserve it. He deserves it. And I mean, just watching Braun shed tears, I've never seen him cry a day in my life, and I've been knowing him since 1990.
In Cleveland, the spotlight wouldn't belong to just one man anymore. It would be shared with Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. That alone changes everything, because this move wouldn't be about chasing another ring. It would be about something far rarer, legacy symmetry. LeBron James began with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He left. He returned. He delivered redemption. Then he left again. But a third return? That wouldn't just be another chapter. It would complete the circle, something no superstar in modern sports has ever truly done. At 41, leverage fades, but legacy sharpens. And legacy remembers where stories begin. If free agency opens the door this summer, Cleveland is already waiting. The roster is strong. The stars are recruiting. The emotional groundwork has been quietly building for years. All that remains is the decision. One more run. One more homecoming. One final chapter written where the first page turned. And if it happens, it won't just be a basketball move. It will feel like history correcting its own unfinished sentence, like time folding back to where destiny first took shape. Because to understand why Cleveland never disappears from the LeBron conversation, you have to zoom out beyond contracts, beyond championships, beyond even basketball itself. You have to look at the story.
LeBron since about 9'6", 1990. Okay?
Way back.
And I've never seen him this emotional outside of like winning a championship. And there was something in that video that struck a nerve. I believe he talked about when he was 22 years old. What happens is things start to sink in, right? When you talk about Mama Glow being in the stands and all of a sudden Bronny is on the bench and everybody in the stands is rooting your name. You seeing the security guards you used to dab up all the time, all the staff around the arena. When you was a youngster, LeBron James is Cleveland.
Yeah.
He is the state of.
Because this was never just about basketball. It's about roots. LeBron James has poured more than $20 million into Akron through the LeBron James Family Foundation, building real systems that change lives. The I Promise School, the I Promise Village, the I Promise Health Quarters, transitional housing, job training, medical care, second chances built into the structure of a city. These aren't branding plays. They're infrastructure. LeBron has said repeatedly that this work means more to him than rings, more than MVPs, more than scoring records. And that changes everything, because Cleveland, and more specifically Akron, keeps him close to the mission, close to Gloria James, close to the streets that raised him and the people still walking them. For a 41-year-old billionaire who has already cemented his legacy, proximity matters more than publicity. The city forgave him. They celebrated him. They cried with him. In 2016, when the Cleveland Cavaliers delivered that championship, it wasn't just victory, it was healing. And when Cleveland played that tribute video in January 2026, it didn't feel ceremonial. It felt reflective, quiet, almost final. Even Donovan Mitchell has openly acknowledged what LeBron represents to that city and to that locker room. But this current Cleveland roster isn't chasing nostalgia. They're chasing contention. Mitchell, James Harden, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, and with LeBron as the stabilizing force. Not just the star, but the anchor. Not just the leader, but the living connection between past glory and present ambition.